Hello again, friends. Today, the grammar point is going to be about the perfect aspect. The perfect aspect is, of course, an aspect of verbs. And the question here is, should you use simple past or present perfect? Let's look at the verb tenses and the present aspect. First of all, you've got to realize what's the infinitive, what's the base form, what's the simple present, and what's the present perfect. So infinitive, to go, the base form is go, the simple present is he goes, the simple past is he went, the present perfect is he has gone. Has is the present and gone is the perfect. To be, the base form is just be. He is, he was, he has been. And to have, the base form is have. The simple present is he has. The simple past is he had. And the present perfect is he has had. But let's think about the meaning of the perfect aspect. Here's an example. I have lived in Mission Viejo for 10 years. The meaning of that sentence is something that began in the past, 10 years ago in the past, and still continues today. That's a typical example of the perfect aspect. I have lived in Mission Viejo for 10 years. The present perfect with the present tense, the past tense, and with future expressions. You can use the perfect aspect both with present tense, past tense, and with helping verbs showing the future. So, for example, you can say, I have lived in Mission Viejo for 10 years. Have is present, and lived is the participle. I have lived in Mission Viejo for 10 years. Or you can talk about the past, something that started in the past and ended in the past. I had lived in Mission Viejo for 10 years before I moved to Arizona. Even about the future, you can talk about the future and say, I will have lived in Mission Viejo for 10 years by the time we return to Colombia. Both of these two things are in the future. In all cases, the use of the perfect is to show a time span between now and the past or the future. But which time frame are you thinking about? The main difference between, for example, simple past tense and present perfect is how you think about the action you are describing. For example, what is the difference between I read that book and I have read that book? Both are correct. If you're thinking of a certain time when you read the book, you will use simple past tense. I read that book last year. If you are thinking about the fact of reading it, but you don't know or you don't care when it happened, you would use the perfect. I have read that book sometime. Now, the adverbs already and yet are usually used with the perfect. Consider, I have already talked to him. Or the question, normally with the word yes, have you talked to him yet? In academic language, only the perfect is considered correct. I already talked to him is considered incorrect. However, in daily life, we often use simple past tense with already, and the same is true of the adverb yet. But since this is an academic course, we have to use the correct academic form, and that is the perfect. Let's look at uses of the present perfect. This is the only tense and aspect we will study in this class. In other classes, you will study past perfect and future perfect. In this class, we only look at the present perfect. So here's use number 1. A state that began in the past and is still the case. Example, have you known my sister long? Started in the past and has continued until now. Use number 2. Indefinite events in the past. We don't say when. You can say, both my parents have had COVID. You don't say when they had COVID. You only say they have had COVID. Or you can use a habit in the past that continues until today. For example, me. Our professor has taught English for more years than I have fingers and toes. And that's a lot of years. Now we do have to learn the participles of the irregular verbs in order to be able to use the perfect. Do you remember Module 3 where we studied the simple past tense of irregular verbs? I have listed that link again on the page following this video. Let's look at just a few of them to remind ourselves. The base form is go, the simple past is went, and the participle is gone. With see, we have see, saw, seen. With begin, we have begin, began, begun. With write, we have write, wrote, written. And with break, we have break, broke, broken. I'm afraid the only way to learn the participles of these irregular verbs is to memorize them. I'm sorry. Now let me ask you, what would you use? Simple past tense or present perfect? Let's take the verb to speak. That's the infinitive. The base form is speak. How about I with my father yesterday? What would you say? I spoke or I have spoken? Well, you would say I spoke because you mentioned the time. You said it happened yesterday. You're specific about the time. I spoke with my father yesterday. How about the next sentence? I in public many times. So you don't say when, you just say many times. That's an example of the perfect. I have spoken in public many times. Let's make a negative sentence, still using the verb speak. I something with my brother since he went into the army. Since he went into the army. That's from that time he went into the army until now. That's an example of perfect. I haven't spoken with my brother since he went into the army. Couple of questions. You to Amy yet, and we use the verb speak. With the adverb yet, you would normally use the perfect. Have you spoken to Amy yet? But if you say after class, that's very specific. That's a specific time after class. There you would say, did you speak to Amy after class? Now, what if you don't have any adverbs? Shall you say visited or have visited? Well, without those adverbs or adverbial expressions, it's impossible to decide the correct tense or aspect. For example, the Griffith Observatory. That's in Los Angeles. Shall you say, we visited or we have visited. Both are correct. It depends on the situation. If you want to talk about a specific time, last weekend, when you went on a trip to Los Angeles, you will say, we visited the Griffith Observatory. But if you're simply talking about all the many places you have been in California, you'll say, we have visited the Griffith Observatory. From the sentence alone, I simply do not know whether you visited it many times or if you visited it yesterday. A little hint. At the quiz at the end of this unit, look for adverb time expressions. They will give you the answer. Here's a little cheat sheet, but it's not cheating. Usually, we will use simple past tense with adverbs like never, always, sometimes, once, yesterday, and present perfect with expressions like for 3 years, since I arrived, since last week, many times, since yesterday, because that means from a beginning time until a certain point. That could be now, it could be past or future, but we are talking about present perfect. Well, it's an uphill struggle to learn a foreign language, a new language. So I will congratulate you on a job well done, and go right ahead and watch this video many, many times until it becomes just a natural part of your normal language.